Hello and welcome everyone back to
Not fighting.
I don't know. We don't need to introduce yourselves.
Yes, you do.
I'm Tyler Bishop,
That was so cheesy.
like a child.
I'm Tyler Bishop.
It's my
I'm
birthday.
Jena. That's Tyler.
It's not my birthday though. It was
No.
my birthday last month in the middle of Corona. I remember thinking like at the start of the pandemic, like, oh man, it would suck so bad if your birthday was when this was all going on. Little did I know, like, everybody's having a coronavirus birthday this year.
Not me. I passed it. I got it
Yeah,
first.
you did.
I
mean,
snuck
like,
it in right at the end.
It might come back around again.
Yeah, we don't know. February is a long time. One of the kids at Jiu-Jitsu today said something about their mom's birthday was this week, and then she told everyone that her mom's age. I'm like, oh, you don't do that. But then the other kid goes,
put her mom on blast.
One of the other kids is like, my birthday done passed. And I was like, it was like a couple weeks ago. I was like, I know. And then same kid, I'm just going to like call it out because I was like calling him different names than his real name is Asher. And so I was making up all these nicknames. And I said, can I just call you Ashy? And he goes, Ashy Larry? And I'm like, he's 6.
How did he get that Chappelle Show
How does he
reference?
even know Ashy Larry?
I feel like Ashy Larry is like one of those cultural things that transcends even the show itself. But even then, like, that's a young kid for that kind of callback.
I know, it made me laugh so hard, and then also I wanted to be like, Mama, you're doing something right,
Also,
I guess.
Or
Or
like
wrong,
maybe
I don't
like
know.
figure out what he's watching on TV.
No, but it cracked me up, and anyway, I thought everybody would enjoy that, because it was like, this is a 5-year-old telling me this, and that's why I teach kids jiu-jitsu, just for those comments.
Yeah, kids are very rewarding in that sense, and I feel like kids have the highest highs and the lowest lows as it relates to being an instructor.
Yes.
But adults can kind of have a lot of those same qualities in different ways. I feel like.
Yeah.
We kind of got into.
It's different though. It's different.
Yeah. We get into.
There's a cuteness and an innocence with children that's just very different.
Well, we talked about, like all the different things that like are like, I don't know, I hate the word peeves, but like peeves of instructors a couple weeks ago. And
it's weird to just say peeves.
Yeah, because normally it comes with the word pet.
Pet peeves.
Yeah, pet peeves.
Just peeves. I never heard anyone say that.
Imagine if you showed up to practice and some guy was like, hey, man, I'm really upset because my wife washed my gi top. I was really peeved about it.
But peeved is different. To use it in that sense is different. I've heard that.
Just singular peeves?
But yeah.
I guess plural, multiple peeves.
It's a different thing.
Wait, can you just use peeve? Is it like a one? Can you use it in singular fashion?
I'm not the dictionary.
I'm not a dignitary. Off to a great start.
We're so tired and slap happy today, so
yeah, training's been tough.
I mean, good luck on this if you're listening.
But we've been we're talking about earlier on just like what it's like to train hard and kind of getting back into things. I remember what it was like training all the time and having your fingers be sore and kind of the practice of it, and it kind of got us on this discussion of this idea of Nutella and
the no Nutella like thing, which it's been around for a while. Like it was like how many years ago when like Bushesha like had the no Nutella patch like on his gi at the Worlds.
Yeah, he had it on his butt.
Yeah, it's been a minute, but I feel like it's kind of like becoming more mainstream now. Like there's gifts on your Insta for it and things like that. So did it jump the shark?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I'll start by saying like, you kind of filled me in on some of this because my perception of it going into this was like Nutella is like the new school, and what's the other one that they use in reference to like this is the opposite of Nutella.
Oh, like the every nipple hottest stuff?
Yes.
What we're talking about?
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, and then old, like Nutella is like kind of the new school and they're softer. That was my perception. And then you kind of filled me in on a little bit of the background.
Yeah, because I guess like the first person to use the term, to coin the term is Hansel Gracie. And he used it, and I guess it was Hosha, right? That I was telling, like ADCC, who was watching him warm up. That was the story I was telling, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, anyway. And, like, I guess when it came down to it, like, how it was explained was because it was one of those things, I was kind of confused because it's like, oh, like, uh, Hosha was saying like he was warming up and he was like like going really hard. I guess he likes to go really hard when he trains and warms up even. And we've all seen like what he does like in tournaments, and it's kind of dirty in a lot of sense, like
in the traditional sense.
And yeah, in the traditional sense. And so I think Henzo made a comment like, man, like this guy's trying to kill you, like I can't believe you're letting him warm up with you, that kind of thing. And then he called him like Nutella, and then or the like whatever. And so how it's explained is like, I guess Henzo says like Nutella is like a fake chocolate, and he's like, I like real jujitsu. I don't fake jujitsu. And so it was this kind of thing of, you know, I think it's kind of more like the non-Nutella, the no Nutella, the opposites, like the roots people, like the traditional, you know, like people who started. But it's this like, I think it's like this more, it's like deeper where it's like, you know, you're pretending. It's like the people who fight for like just to win by an advantage, like, but that's their whole goal is just to win by an advantage. Like that's what they're practicing every day. It's like the person who just puts you in like lasso guard and like sits and waits and watches the clock and tries to like just get a little like at the end. And it's like, this is during your normal training rounds. Or the people who are just like disrespectful, like as opponents or as competitors, or, you know, to other competitors, and the things that they do, and how the manner that they carry themselves in.
It's like that. It's like that kid in school that was like always talking a big game, getting in a fight, and then somebody's like, "Yeah, man, I'll see you after school then." And then they're like, "Well, not like today, because like today my mom's picking me up early, you know, because I got like a mad dentist appointment." We both knew.
Weird.
It's the same kid. But yeah, just like this kind of like. This idea that you're gonna pretend like you're hard, you're training hard, you always go for the submission, and then, you know, when it comes time to actually, you know, drain your knee and show up to competition training, you're not doing it.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of the funny thing, because it's like you see a lot of people who I think if you asked Hansel Gracie if they were like the Nutella crew, I think he would say they are. But they're like, no, everyday porrada, and they're like acting like they train really hard, and everybody posts like, oh yeah, I'm doing this and that, and it's all this kind of show, and it's all for the gram, because I've been around a lot of these people, and I'm like, dude, your cardio sucks. Like, why are you really that tired? You take like 4 minutes between rounds in practice to tie your belt. You have to like pretend to retape your fingers or whatever else, and like you act like you're dead after like 2 rounds of sparring. Like, come on, like. And I think
you and I are kind of naturally predisposed to kind of like raise eyebrows about some of this stuff. Coming from the Midwest, I think that there's a very workman-like attitude that people have. Where I think one of my good friends said it to me best one time, and that was, you know, there's a certain type of person that comes from the Midwest, and they're a little bit different, and it's the most important opinions are the opinions of the other people in the room that are paying attention to what that person's doing, and all the people outside might not see it, but that person is worried about the respect of everybody in the room. And that's kind of how I've always thought about jiu-jitsu, and this kind of like, I guess, no Nutella, where it's like, I don't need people to think that I'm tough. I don't need to pretend. My goal, that's why I always make the silly faces in the pictures, is like, I'm like, well, I'm so tough. It's like, you can't show somebody how tough you are.
I don't think I've ever seen you pose like straight up, like chest out flexing on people. Like, it's always a fake, like cheesy flex.
If I do it, it's like way over the top. So for those that don't know, any pictures that I take at jiu-jitsu, I always make this face.
Yes.
Like that. Yes. And the reason being is because it's like, I think it's silly. Like, you're gonna pretend to be tough. Like, we're actually fighting each other, actually grappling and rolling. Like, if I'm tough, you know it by training with me.
Yes, it's so funny. But there is like, I don't know. It's just this. It's just funny to see people carry themselves in a certain way, or like skipping practice and that kind of thing, because like I'm really sore today, man. Like, it's not like you're hurt or anything. It's like, yeah, we're all sore because we're all training really hard, so suck it up. Like, And it's not, I don't mean that for everyone, okay? I really don't mean that for everyone.
So I was actually going to say it actually does apply to people that are not competitors, in my opinion, too.
It does? Well, but it's different. It's different. It's the people who are, like, that bothers me is, like, they want to pretend that they're an athlete and, like, this is their profession, and then they don't even show up for practice. It's like, dude, if you were on any team, professional team, when there's practice, you have to be there. Like, you get paid to be at practice. That's part of it, right? And so it's like it's just like the unprofessional, like, attitude of people who are pretending to be professionals. Yeah. And it's like you can be one, but, like, carry yourself like that. Like, show up for practices even when you're sore and you're tired. I get it. If you're hurt, man, that's a different thing. You need to rest because you have an injury. But guess what? If you were on a team, you would show up at the same time they're practicing. You're going to do your rehab then. You're going to, you know what I'm saying? It's like, that's part of it.
It's hard.
And I get because it's not a team sport, but it's also, like, we all need each other there to train. If I don't have teammates, I don't have training partners.
And I know we used to talk about this all the time about, like, the idea of, you know, people say they want to train full time. That used to be something I heard a lot more than I hear it now. Mm-hmm. But, you know, people say, I wish I could just train jiu-jitsu full time. And it's like, the reality of that's actually really brutal in a lot of ways. But like you said, the training part of it is something you can grind through. It's all the other things that you have to take care of.
The things that you need to do to, like, maintain so that you can be there training, like, and then having to do, you know, normal things just to
be a person.
Yeah.
And that's part of it too, where it's like, you know, realistically, if you're quote unquote training full time, you're probably employed by jiu-jitsu in some way too. And that means, like, you're going to have to teach some classes, do some private lessons, maybe run a school. And that stuff is really, that's taxing on you as well. And I think that's one of the things that people often miss with this stuff is just, is the discipline that comes outside of, like, being able to walk onto the mats and, like, give it your best effort.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the times that you need to show up and, like, train the most are a lot of times when you're like, I just don't feel like training today. And I mean, I've said this to you on a lot of occasions where it's like the days I'll go in and I'm like, man, I don't feel like training today. My body hurts. I don't know. Like, I'm going to try and suffer through this. And then I wind up training really good, or, you know, it's not always like that, but there's a lot of times that happens and I'm like, wow. Oh, our Postmates is here.
Postmates break. That. And we're back. Postmates break. Yes. But
a little break.
No, you nailed it. Like, the thing about you know, like, sometimes it's not fun to come to practice, or sometimes you might not think you're going to train well, and then you have a good training day. But I think, you know, I've never heard somebody come to jiu-jitsu and be like, man, I didn't want to come today, and I really wish I wouldn't have. I just wish I would have gone home today. Everybody's always like, I'm so glad I came. And I think that that's a trap as well, where even if you're, you know, just people lie to themselves, I think, about the things that require effort to get better at something.
Yeah.
And people are always probably saying to themselves, like, I'm going to get better at jiu-jitsu. I mean, you hear it all the time. Yeah. But then they tell themselves, like, well, you're just really busy today. Or just, you know, your back's sore, you need to let it rest.
Yeah, but I think that's, like, something. It's one of those things. It's like that's why the people like David Goggins or Jocko Willink are so popular, because there's so many people out there that are their first instinct is to make an excuse of why they can't do it. You know, and so you need people like that are motivating, because people aren't self-motivated on their own. And for me, we've talked about this, is like for like. People like you and I, it's like we don't need those people. Like, I don't need to listen to people like that, because honestly, most of what they're saying is bad for me, because I will push myself to the point of, like, where I'm burned out, overtrained, and, like, not prepared, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, or not prepared up. I don't know. Like, over prepared in the sense where I can't perform.
Like, you giving your best effort means, like, always doing more.
Yes.
And for me, that was, like, something that was ingrained in me from playing sports as a young kid and having coaches that were very, very hard on us. And it was basically that there was no excuse that was good enough. No injury, no obligation. Like, you were going to be at practice, you were going to do the work, and if not, you had to pay a price, and you learn through that. Like, there's no excuse. And so when you have somebody that's like a David Goggins type character, when I hear that, it's like, cool, there's no reason why I can't just be running all day.
Yeah, like I need to be doing more. And it's like, no, you need to do less, and you need to do more, like, rehab. That really, truly is what I need to do.
I don't need to sleep 7 hours. I could probably go lift weights for an hour straight.
Yeah, like, I don't need to wake up at 5 a.m. or whatever. Because guess what? I didn't go to bed until, like, 11 at the earliest. So
that's what time we go to bed here.
I
Secrets. A little bit about the Bishops. We go to bed around 11 p.m. on the weekdays. On the weekends, we're up a little bit later.
You're so corny.
But, yeah, I mean, like, I think that's one of the things, and I think it becomes a generational thing, and I don't know, maybe we talked about it on this podcast or not, but, like, I think portion of it is, like, bleeds into, like the back end of the millennial, and then what people would consider Gen Z. And what is it that I always say about Gen Z?
That they're not problem solvers?
No.
That's something you say all the time.
No, don't tell. I have people that work for me that, like, I don't want them to think.
I'm not thinking about your work people at all. I'm thinking about some of the, like a Scooter, for an example.
Or Jake Watson.
Jake Watson.
Jake Watson, for example.
No.
To name one person exactly.
Yeah.
But I say that internet is real life.
Yes.
And real life isn't real until it's on the internet.
Yes.
And I do think that there's a portion of that comes out here where it's like, I do jiu-jitsu and I need to make sure that people know I'm really tough or that I'm doing this.
Yes.
Because in real life, I'm doing it, but, like, no one's seeing me do it.
This is true. And that's, like, for me, I'm like, I forget to post my workouts. I forget to post my other stuff because I'm just doing it.
I forget to post my mates.
No, I didn't. But yeah, it's just like, I forget to do all this stuff because I'm just, like, working. And I've said this before. It's like, I don't like making a big deal of my preparation because it makes me, like, puts more pressure on me. So,
unnecessary pressure.
Yeah, unnecessary pressure. And so that's just, like, a personal thing for me. Like, some people they thrive doing that kind of stuff, you know? But me personally, it's not. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, I look at that and I wonder how many people don't even realize, like, they're working against themselves, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in a lot of aspects of life. Whenever you put certain portions of your life, like, out on the internet, and then you're like, this is who I am, this is what I'm living up to. And then, then you don't show up to practice, or then you don't do this. And it's like, what does that say about your character?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know.
I didn't mean to be, like, real self-developing on everybody.
And, like, if you're somebody who has trained with us before and stuff, like, and you're feeling guilty about things, or you're like, oh, they're talking about me, we're probably not.
Unless you're Jake Watson, and then we're talking specifically about you.
Yeah, he's the most Nutella person I know.
He is, with his big, long neck and stuff.
Scrawny freaking chicken legs.
No, but
it's like, we're probably not talking about you, but if you were feeling some type of way, like, maybe take a look in the mirror and check yourself.
Well, that's the thing is I feel like the people.
I don't think I'm ever gonna feel guilty about people saying these things because I know who I am. I'm comfortable in what I do.
But I think that the people that are gonna be the most self-reflective about this are probably the people that are gonna be the least likely to fall into this trap. They're always
the ones that are posting no Nutella, and I'm like, bro, you're Nutella. So
this was one question I had.
Okay, anyway.
So I have a question for you about it. Maybe I'm uninitiated here. So it stems from Renzo. So this entire Nutella thing, Renzo Gracie from Brazil. So. It's like a Brazilian thing.
Yeah. Because, like, especially here in America, we're gonna be like, I mean, Nutella's good, but, like, why are they making such a big deal about it? But, like, I've known a lot of Brazil. Like, I mean, I know Nutella is, like, a lot more popular outside of the States.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much anywhere I've been outside of the States, it's way more popular.
Nutella is like chocolate hazelnut, right? Like, that's the flavor.
Yes. And it's delicious. But, like, I wouldn't sit there and eat a whole tub of it after I get done cutting weight, which some of my Brazilian friends have done. So, I mean, it's good, but
people
like
give Americans a hard time about like our food. I think the
Brazilian desserts are the
that's my thing,
sweetest desserts
dude.
I've
They're
had.
so sweet. They're so sweet. I think Americans get a hard time about their portions, but I mean, like,
Our portions are insane.
Brigadeiro is like
Just sweet milk.
dense. Like it has like a weight to it.
Yeah, but it's like a fudge. If you're gonna eat fudge from the U.S., it's gonna be dense too.
But what about
That's
when they
not
put?
great.
What about when they
like
top a
soak
cake?
but they soak all their cake in like sweet milk.
Yeah, but then they top that cake with
And then
Brigadeiro.
put Brigadeiro on it.
Yeah. Be like, here's
Yes.
a cake. Also, the top of that
I'm
cake
not saying
is more
it's not
cakes.
delicious. I'm just saying it's decadent.
Yeah.
It's sweet. Some of the stuff's like sweet.
But it's interesting to me that this has made its way into pop culture now.
Yeah, it's funny. But I mean, jiu-jitsu pop culture, right?
Yeah, jiu-jitsu, I feel like, is on the
saying?
fringe of pop culture. It's like, it's in, like, the zeitgeist. It's, like, in the ether. It's something that's out there, but I don't feel like it's...
Yeah,
Like, I don't assume that somebody knows what jiu-jitsu is when I tell them.
No.
But I feel like when I tell somebody I do jiu-jitsu now, my expectation for them having a semblance of knowing what I do is much, much higher than 10 years ago.
Yeah, for sure.
When 10 years ago, if I like would be like, I do jiu-jitsu, and then almost feel like I needed to get in front of whatever they were going to say next.
Yeah. I think that that's true.
But either way, I think it's interesting the Nutella thing just kind of like catching fire the way that it has. And I do wonder how much of it, I think all generations look at the emerging generation and think of it as like softer or like
For sure.
than previous ones.
Yes.
But I just wonder how much of that is a trap, and how much of what we're describing right now is something that existed 20 years ago.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that there was like a semblance of it in some respects, but it's one of those things too. It's like I'm not gonna sit here and say like, because the people who like, you know, the roots people is like how I've like read it to be or whatever. It's like, yeah, like I think we need to like don't lose like what jiu-jitsu is, but at the same time, when we're talking about competing in a sport, like, guess what? I'm going to do anything I can to win. So if that means, like, I got to play the advantages or whatever, then I might.
Or hiring somebody before the competition to break the other girl's legs.
Yes, I will. Tanya Harding a chick for sure. No, but it's like, you know, but I also will say, like, when I have fought that way, where it's just like you're fighting like just to try and outpoint the person and like it's not even points because it's like fake points. And so it's like if you're trying to play those advantages and stuff like that, like it works against me. Like I'm better if I'm just fighting. Like I'm not worried about that stuff. Like if I'm fighting to like I'm always going for the killer and I'm trying to just to beat them, then I usually do better. So for me, I don't know. That's not how I like to fight anyway.
And I think your point about like trying to keep the roots. I mean, I'm a big fan of that. I'm not like a jiu-jitsu self-defense first and foremost type of person. Like I don't like practicing self-defense, and be honest with everybody. But that being said, like I think every day that I show up and roll around with other dudes and practice fighting, like I'm practicing self-defense. Like people always are like, "Oh, you're not gonna do a berimbolo on the street," and I'd be like, depending on the circumstances, I might stun on somebody, you know? Like, don't act like I couldn't. Like, I bet I could. Get in a fight with somebody on the street.
I'm going to pick a fight for you.
Does he not know jiu-jitsu? I do berimbolos to dudes that know jiu-jitsu. Like, how is this dude going to stop me on the street?
Yeah, but how's it going to feel on your body on the concrete?
Yeah, but it's assuming the fight's in the concrete. Why are we not in a park? On grass? You're just telling me I can't berimbolo somebody on grass?
So many stains on your clothes.
I mean, we're good at laundry.
Okay. We're good.
Fair enough. Ruin. But I do think...
I think, I don't know. I think that's something that I was, was going to say as well. Is, like, you're, the whole, like, the old school is, like, the best way. And, like, it's this way. It's like, man, there's a foundation to jiu-jitsu that is not changing. But there's a lot of things that have been improved upon. Mm-hmm. So it's like, and that's kind of like, you know, like a generational thing out in normal life too. It's like you can't just always hold on to the past because this is how we used to do it, because people are finding a better way. And I think
it's like our discussion last week about gi and no gi, and just like not wanting those things to get further apart.
Yeah, it's true. And I think that's why, is because you've got these, like, well, you have specialists on those areas, and that's why it's kind of separating. But yeah, I just think that you can't, I guess, look at something and be like, oh, that looks too fancy, or that looks this way or that way, or that's not going to work in this scenario.
That's new.
And just like,
new is soft. It's not as hard, or not as good as the old way. And I mean, like, a good example of like new versus old, where the new is definitely harder, is like, look at takedowns in no-gi jiu-jitsu, or just like the when you watch guys battle, like stand up on the feet, like the takedown game in jiu-jitsu is so much more respectable now than what it used to be, in my opinion.
Yes, but I do think that they used it better back in the day. If you look, I think that there was more. Because it's like now everybody, well, for a long time, it was like everybody's criticized for just pulling guard.
Pulling guard, yeah.
And I think that's kind of like the mid-generation of jiu-jitsu, is just like guard pullers. And now we're coming back to this where takedowns is more. But it really depends on the weight class as well.
And yeah, that depends partially too. But I'm thinking kind of more specifically about ADCC. And I'm thinking a little bit about like kind of like...
But that's like not just...
the old school jiu-jitsu. Brazilian jiu-jitsu style of wrestling, where you just basically like try to like head down tackle people, or always have to get the clinch.
Yeah.
You know, it's like wrestling, I feel like, and maybe even to a lesser extent judo has been incorporated more into jiu-jitsu. Judo's kind of always been there, but
I think because people are taking the sport more serious, that they're training. It's like you have your own like mixed martial arts inside of the grappling world, right? So it's like, if I want to be really good at mine, I'm going to learn all these other things to add to my game.
Yeah, and I think that that's where some of this stuff stems from too, and it's not to criticize Henzo's original statement, you know, like the thing about, you know, I agree.
Because I'd probably agree with, if I had watched it,
it's like one of those things where it's like, you're going to pretend to be hard. Like, I won't name names.
Or just like being dirty for no reason. Like, you're doing stuff just because you can.
Well, I'll give you a better example, but I won't name names. But there's a couple of these guys that are out there where they're front runners.
Oh yeah.
And this exists in all sports, and it's existed forever.
Yeah.
But it to me, it summarizes exactly what the Nutella thing is about. It's somebody that's like pretend to be a thug, or pretend to be hard, or gangster.
Like, smacking their face before they spot, like, step on the mat.
And when they're winning the match, they're like looking up and they're like,
talking all the
trash. They're getting 2 points. They're like saying stuff to the crowd, like, huh? And then next thing you know, they get swept. They get their back taken. They don't even defend the choke. They just like let themselves get choked. They just quit. They give up. And it's like, you're gonna pretend you're gonna be a gangster until it's time to do gangster things. To me, the epitome of somebody that like a moment that I remember in jiu-jitsu was Muhammad Ali, when he actually lost at the World Championship and he got choked.
That was last year.
He just got up and he was like very respectful.
So respectful.
Like, and just
it solidified like my respect or admiration for him as a fighter, I guess. Like, I was like, oh no, like, this dude's like the real deal. Like, he's humble in like victory and defeat. Like, it just showed me, like, that was like, you don't see that often, I guess, in the sport. You see more people throwing tantrums.
Yeah, and I think it's, I mean, that being said, neither of us I would describe as like very overly emotional, but I think it's okay. Like, if you're an emotional person, you win, you're excited, you lose, you're upset.
Yeah, but that's like...
But it's whenever you take it to that, like, I know the cameras are on almost, like, degree. Yes. And I think that that's becoming more and more common because people feel like the camera is always on.
Because
and that's
it is.
And that's the fakeness that I think Henzo's talking about. And it's whenever that starts to permeate jiu-jitsu that I think it becomes a problem, where it's like you said, fighting for advantages, or always talking about, like, you know, all the things you're going to do at training, or you're going to come to training and then you show up once a week and then you've got a bunch of excuses. Yeah. And I think that that's something you have to be honest with yourself about.
Well, and it's the funny thing is, like, you know, I've been, like, around a lot of, like, high level, like, world champion people, and I've seen how they train, and I've seen their work ethic, and then you have people who are like pretending to be on that same level, and then they showboat and like they say all these things on their social medias and like act like they're at that same level, but then like when push comes to shove, it's like you quit, or you don't show up, or I don't know, you're just like so dramatic about everything, and it's just like, dude, like just shut up and do the work.
And I think
that's all I really want to say about all of it.
I mean, trying not to get into sports psychology.
Because I feel like we're kind of like veering off on different topics right now, but it's fine.
We are. That's how we do.
Yes.
I'm
fine with it. I just want you to know.
I'm fine with it. She's not fine with it.
I am.
After this is over, I'm going to get a beating.
Tomorrow.
You almost put me out the other day. Freaking.
Yeah, with the doors.
I think we talked about that in the last episode, maybe. My brain's not good. CTE. But I don't know. I think that, this is just kind of one of the things that's out there now. I think that, it's a real thing, and I think people need to be aware of it. But I don't necessarily think it just applies to a generation. And I also don't think that it's necessarily something where it's like the new is always the soft or the weak or the fake.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something that's kind of been permeated, or a reputation that's been gathered here recently.
Yeah, I think ultimately is like you just have to carry yourself in a respectful manner and and then like on and off the mats. And I think that's what it's about. Like it's like, being like going for it, like taking risks, like putting yourself out there, and then like being just a respectable human.
Yeah, and like knowing that you're the only one that can prevent forest fires. Yeah. Is Smokey the Bear still a thing?
Probably.
No, like
I would assume.
I haven't seen the commercials in a long time. Smokey the Bear wasn't just like that's a U.S. thing, right?
I think
there's like an old Mitch Hedberg joke about in Canada or something. They have like something the frog.
Oh yeah. I got like some kind of let's see if Smokey the Bear is like is this interesting or not?
Yeah, I mean it's interesting at this point because now all the audience wants to know.
I mean, he was born.
The three people that are like.
According to Wikipedia, he was born in spring of 1950.
Wait, what? There's a birth date for him?
Yeah. I don't know. Is this like a thing? I think it just was an old PSA. I don't think this is a neat new thing. I think it's done.
So there's no more Smokey the Bear?
I don't know. I'm not trying to get into Wikipedia too much, but.
So, anyways, you brought up us veering off a while back, and so this is kind of the antithesis.
I feel like you're all over the place today.
Yeah, maybe.
Your brain is scrambled.
Broken. But yeah, I think that kind of signals the end of the podcast. I think we got this subject from every angle.
Smokey the Bear.
Yeah. So all of you that were like didn't bounce out whenever we were veering off earlier definitely veered off at Smokey the Bear. For those that are still with us, stay tuned for the next half hour. We're gonna only talk about Smokey the Bear and conspiracy theories. No, I want to thank everybody that's recently written reviews. We've seen a few come through recently, and they're I guess just the
appreciate you.
Yeah, means a lot to have people listen and enjoy the show. And yeah, if you haven't left a review yet, that'd be awesome if you take the time to do it.
We would love to do it. And then also, just go to Jake Watson's like Insta and just write mean things to him.
Yeah, not like
real hateful.
Not hateful things. In jest.
Yes.
In jest.
Yeah.
Or just chicken emojis.
Yes.
Rooster emojis.
No, chicken. Chicken
Just
emojis. Go to Jake Watson's Insta and put chicken emojis, please.
That'd be great.
On every photo.
Be hilarious. One person does it.
Oh, I love it.
Who's this person? All right.
If one person did just one, it would be great.
All right. Well, we want to thank everybody for joining us again on another episode of
Not Fighting.